You're listening to Food Tech Talk, Supply Chain Insights from Farm to Fork, a podcast discussing the latest trends and technology in the food and supplement industries, featuring conversations with regulatory experts, quality and safety champions, and thought leaders across the industry. I'm your host, Lydia Adams. Let's jump right in. Welcome to another episode of Food Tech Talk, Supply Chain Insights from Farm to Fork. Today, I'm excited to welcome Andrew Glantz, the founder and CEO of GiftAMeal, a mission-driven platform that enables restaurants to give back to their communities by providing meals to families in need. Under Andrew's leadership, GiftAMeal has partnered with over 950 restaurants and provided more than 2 million meals. Andrew's work exemplifies the power of corporate social responsibility, CSR, in driving business growth while also making a meaningful social impact. With a background in marketing and social entrepreneurship, Andrew brings a fresh perspective on how profit and purpose can align in the food industry. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Lydia.
So I'm really excited about this episode. It's kind of different than our typical guest, and it's something that's near to our hearts at Trustwell, which is really about giving back within the food industry. So maybe you can share a little bit more about your journey and really what inspired you to create GiftAMeal.
So I'd always wanted to give back, whether it was volunteering at, local food banks and soup kitchens or tutoring underprivileged children. And I also looked to support businesses that give back. And so one day in college, I had an internship at a venture capital firm. And on a lunch break with the other intern, we were talking about how millennials like ourselves discover restaurants and want to do good. And with restaurants, we saw a lot of financially driven incentives like coupons and discounts, but not a lot that was really driving that emotional connection with the customer. And so I pulled from a Tom Shoes, Warby Parker, buy one, give one model, and the trend of people posting photos of food on social media and combined it into the concept of GiftAMeal of each time a guest takes a photo of their food or drink at a partner restaurant, we make a donation to a local food bank to help provide a meal to someone in need in their community. And so it's really just about how can we connect these great food banks that are out there to the restaurants and then to the customers in a way that could be sustainable, in a way that could help create a business benefit too for the restaurant in terms of driving traffic.
Kind of the two great things at once for the restaurant and then, of course, giving back. So, how do your experiences that you've had in the past really with marketing and social entrepreneurship how did that shape this business idea to make it what it is today?
I think that when you're looking at a marketing perspective, you have to be thinking, how are customers going to easily understand the marketing initiative? And then how can they engage in the initiative in a way that's meaningful and relevant to them? And so with GiftAMeal, it's free for the guest and funded by the restaurant. So there's very low barrier for the guest to participate. They just scan the QR code and snap a photo. And since it's funded by the restaurant, they feel a sense of gratitude that they attribute to the restaurant. And so they're giving the restaurant the credit, but they also are triggering the impact by taking the photo. So they still feel partially responsible for the impact, but they also are thankful for the restaurant for actually funding the effort. And so that's what we've seen is really important in terms of that attribution is from that interactive component of GiftAMeal of the guest really wanting to feel good about supporting that restaurant and keep on coming back more and more frequently. We've seen the guests using GiftAMeal on average return 39% more frequently. They spend 20% more per visit and tip 32% more. And this is just something that's really important to reach Gen Z millennial customers in particular. And so it's all about just making it easy, understandable, engaging, and then shareable as well on social media to really magnify the impact of a marketing program.
We start to see that CSR is really evolving within the restaurant industry specifically. How do you feel that GiftAMeal really fits into this vision and the future of CSRs for restaurants?
So restaurants can give back in a lot of ways, and we encourage them to participate in their community in a lot of different ways, whether it's sponsoring a local Little League team or doing a staff volunteer event for a local cause or doing a canned food drive at the restaurant or showcasing local artists' art up at the restaurant. There's a lot of ways that restaurants can engage their communities and give back. In terms of how GiftAMeal fits in, it's really that concept of plug and play social responsibility, where restaurant staff have so many things on their plate from an operational standpoint that with GiftAMeal, it's a really easy way for them to add in doing something positive for the community that they might not have been doing otherwise. And it can also complement all those other community engagement efforts that I mentioned earlier. And so a restaurant can launch on GiftAMeal within 24 hours. And it's really just about putting up some self-explanatory materials like It could be like a table tent or a window cling that has the QR code on it and just says scan the QR code, take a photo, meals donated locally, and guests can participate in as quickly as 15 seconds without having any extra effort for staff. So really fitting in as that turnkey element that's also supporting their local food bank. Because with GiftAMeal, we match up each individual store to a local food bank that services the county that that restaurant is in. So that way it's something that the customers can feel really good about supporting their communities. And it's something that the staff, and if it's a franchise location, the franchisee can really get behind as well. And so each store is matched to local food banks. And then when the photos are taken, we're making a monetary donation for each photo taken to cover the food bank's cost of distributing a meal's worth of healthy groceries from their facility to hundreds of neighborhood pantries where those in need could actually access it. So it's able to make that hyper-local impact in a really easy, quick, and efficient manner.
I think that probably for a lot of restaurants, and you've worked with 950 of them, they struggle with possibly balancing, obviously, their growth KPIs and the commercialization that they have with their goals to participate in corporate social responsibility. How can restaurants work together internally to make sure that the type of work that you do and, other CSRs are really top of mind?
I mean, I think it depends on who you're talking to within the organization. For marketing, they have to justify their marketing budgets to the finance and accounting teams and everything, and to their CEO. And so showing that quantified return on investment, like you said in my intro, it's about showing how profit and purpose can be consistent goals and how businesses can do well by doing good. And seeing that this could be a driver. As I mentioned before, we've seen guests are returning more frequently after using GiftAMeal, spending more, tipping more. And they're also getting a lot of social media promotion out of it. And so showcasing to the finance teams and the C-suite executives, hey, this is something that our customers are talking about on social media, and it's something that they care about. It's something that's really powerful. We've also been able to form some really cool industry partnerships with guest feedback companies like Ovation and Tattle, where at the end of the GiftAMeal experience, there can be a prompt for the guest to fill out a feedback survey about the restaurant experience. And they could be, give the 5-star review for the restaurant and things like that, write a review on Google and Yelp. And on average, we've seen the guests coming from the GiftAMeal channel as opposed to, entering to give guest feedback elsewhere are giving about 1/3 of a star rating higher for the restaurant. And we're 20% more likely to write a review that's 5 stars on these external platforms like Yelp and Google. And so those are really quantifiable business metrics that aren't just about social impact, but they can be driven by social impact in order to justify it for people that are more financially minded with their business making for the restaurants.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like this is also a win for the customer. We see a lot of trends in the food industry specifically that are really consumer driven. Have you seen that benefit of customers wanting to work with restaurants that have these types of programs that give back?
Yeah, there were a couple consumer culture reports recently by Fuse Marketing and 5WPR that found that 84% of Gen Zers would support a business that gives back over a business that doesn't. And 71% of millennials would be willing to pay more for the same product if they knew it was going to support a good cause as well. But these are definitely big drivers for businesses that they should definitely be aware of. And, it's all about adapting to the customer at the end of the day and making sure that it's something that they're aware of so that the business can get the benefit out of it, and making sure that it's something that can be top of mind. For restaurants, it's a really competitive industry. And sometimes customers are only going to 5 to 8 restaurants. And so how can restaurants break into that consideration set when people are deciding where to eat on a consistent basis and not just be a one-off visit at that restaurant? And so GiftAMeal can be a really great way for a restaurant to stay top of mind and stand out in comparison to other restaurants in that consideration set.
How do restaurants really approach this topic with GiftAMeal, like just to make customers participate and feel like they're part of the process where it doesn't feel, I guess, like performative?
Yeah, so we look to really connect the customers to the cause. So at the end of the GiftAMeal experience, we showcase an impact story that shows, a picture of a person with a quote from them sharing how this meal is actually going to help them. So people have actually received food from these local food banks because of the GiftAMeal program. And so one thing we look to do with that is really humanize hunger and showcase that these are real people in our community and that we're all equals and can help each other out, because hunger can happen to anyone due to unfortunate circumstances of life. And we should all be there for one another. And so showcasing that it's not just something performative, it's not just a number, it's something where we can make a really big impact, and each meal does really add up and can make an impact on someone's lives and put a smile on a child's face is something that's really powerful. And so the restaurants look for ways to promote this as well within their restaurants that fit into their customer experience in a really natural way. So if they're not a restaurant that does table tents, maybe they'll have something on the menu, or they'll have GiftAMeal integrated within their own mobile app, or, have GiftAMeal on a coaster if it's more of like a bar restaurant concept. Lisa Miss Recipe Chicken, a brand with 130 locations, they have the GiftAMeal call to action and QR code on their cups and their side containers. So it's actually on the packaging. And so there's a lot of different ways the brands can look to promote GiftAMeal, whether it's in physical and person for dine-in, whether it's on packaging or a seal sticker on a box or on a pizza box for to-go orders, or whether it's digital in their online ordering or on their mobile apps or things like that in order to bring the guest into the experience. And then once the GiftAMeal experience launches on the customer's device, it's on the restaurant's branding. So that way the restaurant can get the credit for it. And then we bring them into that really big feel-good experience that showcases that sense of emotional connection by showing those stories and everything.
Oh, yeah. No, that's wonderful. And I know there's a lot of small restaurants. So, restaurants within the industry, they're sort of just getting started. How do you suggest that they bring about a CSR program, knowing they have limited resources and really tight margins?
With GiftAMeal, we work with both chains and independent mom and pop locations that have one location. We work with 5 location brands, 10 locations, 20. Our largest is 236 locations. And also for transparency and pricing and everything, for an independent mom and pop restaurant to join, it's $69 a month, flat rate. We cover all the costs or donations from there. And then for chains, we discount based off the number of locations. If anybody wants to look us up, you can go to giftameal.com/partner and see all the information there. So, obviously, I would say you can partner with GiftAMeal still, even as a one location spot. But in terms of other ways that you can look to give back in easy capacities, I would say contact the local schools and stuff. See if you can provide some catering to some different types of events in your community to help get the brand out there. There's a coffee shop here in St. Louis where I'm based, and they'll deliver free coffees to some of the businesses in their neighborhood to the employees there as a way to just say, hey, we're in the neighborhood, we're supporting others in the neighborhood. And then those people find out about GiftAMeal, or not GiftAMeal, they found about that coffee shop as well. And then they can visit that coffee shop and spread the word. So, a lot of different ways you can be involved in different community events in order to give back, whether it's with schools or nonprofits or just other businesses in your community, to make sure that you're showing your face and people know who you are.
Yeah, and I think it really goes back to culture. We talk a lot about a food safety culture at Trustwell, because if the internal parties are not aligned to that being a core value, it's very hard to make sure that it happens. Do you feel that is the same way with giving back and with CSR activities?
Yeah, I think that you have to make sure you're doing everything right when you're giving back because, you're kind of held to a higher bar when you're saying you're doing something positive for the community. People want to make sure that it's not scammy and that you're actually authentic and genuine in terms of what you're doing from a give back perspective. And so that's something that we always make sure to do at GiftAMeal, is to make sure that, we're providing these funds directly to these vetted nonprofit food banks that are in the restaurant's community. And that it's something that's really easy to help to give back. And the restaurant isn't donating their actual food as a part of the program. It's funds that are donated. They just pay the flat program fee to be involved. And then we facilitate the flow of funds to these food banks for each photo taken to fund the distribution of healthy groceries that come from supermarkets and food drives and such from the food bank's facilities to those neighborhood pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, etc. And so that way it makes sure that we're amplifying these efforts of these food banks in order to make sure that healthy, safe food can get to those that need it, especially if they live in a food desert where they don't have access to healthy produce and they might just have access to convenience stores or fast food restaurants. And, the food banks can really serve a great need there as well. So it's great to make sure that there's healthy, safe food getting to everyone that needs it.
Thinking about how CSR itself has evolved, getting into tech-enabled CSR like GiftAMeal is kind of new. How do you see that evolving even more in the future? And how does tech really play a part in giving back?
Tech enables everything. I think that it can create a lot of really great efficiencies. I think we need to make sure that we don't lose authentic storytelling as we embrace technology and have it be something that's really additive as a way to help spread the message and find new ways to engage customers in give back experiences that can really look to make a larger impact in the communities that these businesses are serving. And I think that when you're looking at the role that technology can play, it can expand the reach on social media. It can find new ways for customers to engage. And there's just a lot of white space and opportunity there. It's just about what are the barriers to entry for a business to get involved? And is it something that they can do themselves, or is it something that they need to look for another company in order to partner with in order to make this all possible? So, we always look to partner with all different types of companies within the industry in order to provide value. And I think that's something that really provides a lot of the power for the future of tech-enabled CSR.
Since you guys have started, how has your technology changed, or what are you excited about in terms of where GiftAMeal is going with the tech?
So we started off GiftAMeal as a mobile app. So you had to download an app onto your phone on Android or iPhone, and it was free to download, take a photo. You can download, create an account, take a photo, give a meal. But we found that was a little bit of a barrier for somebody to have to download another app onto their phone. It takes time, and then you have to create an account, and you might not have space on your phone. And so then a cool technology came out called an app clip for iPhone and Instant App for Android, essentially the same technology, where you can have a full screen appless experience that is app-like. So there's no download required, no account creation required. You just scan the QR code, it launches GiftAMeal on your phone, and you can go through the entire process in 15 seconds without having to get a full app on your phone, but it's still a better experience than just a web browser because it is full screen. And so that app clip / instant app technology was something that was really transformative for us in terms of providing that clean customer experience.
That's really cool. I mean, I think removing any of the barriers is what's going to get adoption, and that's really key. So we talked about smaller businesses, and a lot of these small startups, will end up adding locations. So how can a company maintain that value of CSR and the value of that as they scale?
I think that there's kind of like the ABCs of social responsibility, if you will. There's authenticity, branding fit, and consistency. And that applies as you're looking at scaling up a business in terms of how you're consistently implementing that CSR. So authenticity is making sure that you're genuine in terms of how you're making the impact. Branding fit is in terms of making sure that it's something that's resonating with your customers and fits your brand. And consistency is in terms of the messaging, especially as you go across locations, in terms of what you're actually communicating that you're doing and how you're applying it. And so for GiftAMeal, as a brand expands, if they start with one location and expand to 5 or 10 locations, we're matching up each store to their local food bank in their area. So that way it's a scalable social responsibility strategy where they could be helping each community they serve as they expand. We're just launching a brand in 2 days, actually. It's a 3-location brand in Minneapolis called Pizza Karma. And they're looking at expanding and franchising into Atlanta. And so then once they expand out there, then we'll be supporting the Atlanta Community Food Bank in that community. And so it's a way that they can scale up their social responsibility without having to throw out the playbook and find something new as they look to expand. And so finding those ways that you can repeatably implement social responsibility, I think are really key as a brand looks to scale up their number of locations.
Yeah, and I think keeping it local is what really helps the consumers feel like they're making an impact, rather than sometimes going out to, which is nothing wrong with it, to go out to like national nonprofits and stuff like that. But I think that connection is what really is key to that adoption. So, looking ahead, what trends do you really see just in terms of generally the future of CSR within the food industry?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of cool things that are happening in this space. There's a company called Copia that deals with food waste in the restaurant industry. And basically their product is if you have leftover food that you're not going to sell, then you can input it into their platform and say, hey, we have 10 pounds of chicken breast. And then they'll send a driver to come pick it up. And then they'll drop it off at a local pantry or somewhere where somebody needs it. And so they'll do all that matching for the restaurant. And then the restaurant gets a tax deduction for the value of the food that they were donating. And so there's a lot of cool ways that you can look to give back that are innovative, whether it's on the food waste side or for GiftAMeal, it's, supporting financially these local food banks, or there's different efforts that are in Roundup, or there's different like benefit nights that you can do with different organizations. So there's a lot of different ways that businesses can be involved in social responsibility. It could also be in terms of sustainability, in terms of sustainable packaging and lighting and building solutions for restaurants, or positive employee engagement practices. And especially for Gen Z, they pay attention to how staff are treated at restaurants. And so there's a lot of different ways that restaurants can be involved in their communities or for social issues and look to give back in many different ways. And CSR is a multifaceted concept. It's not just one single solution, but it's all about, making sure that you can do all these different areas and how can we communicate that to the customer.
No, I think that's really important. And as businesses, restaurants, as they start to build out these CSR programs, how would you recommend that they measure the effectiveness? We talked a little bit about KPIs earlier, but what should they really key into of, hey, this is working, this is helping our business overall?
I think that there's both the kind of quantifiable and ways to do it, and then also qualitative ways to measure. Qualitatively speaking, I would say talk to your staff and talk to your customers and see what their feedback is. Are staff happy with how the program's going? Is it something that's, they're saying, hey, this isn't working, or everybody's confused about it, or, it's taking too much of my time, or they're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. It makes me feel really good to know that I'm working at a business that's giving back and it doesn't add anything else to my plate. Or I would love to do more for the cause. How can we do that? And same for the customers in terms of their feedback for the program about how you can keep on improving. Corporate social responsibility is no different than any other marketing strategy. It's all about figuring out how you can implement, quantify, learn, adapt, and re-implement, and keep on incrementally improving the program in a way that's authentic and genuine. You could be measuring impact in terms of the impact generated for the cause, like dollars donated. You can track it by the number of customers engaged, or like I mentioned earlier, you can track it if you have it synced up to payment data of things like, are customers returning more frequently, spending more, tipping more? Are they sharing out more on social media? What are those social media impressions generating? And then also, how's the restaurant utilizing this CSR effort to reach its other goals? Like, is the restaurant running, a promotion on like a Facebook ad or something like that? Is that Facebook ad performing better than the financially driven ad in terms of the impression and engagement rates and things like that? So there's a lot of different means you could use to measure different KPIs for social responsibility. And I think for the restaurant, it's just deciding which ones are important to measure and what data does the restaurant have easily accessible in order to measure those KPIs.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. And looking back for you at the impact that GiftAMeal has had so far, what are you most proud of and what's been most rewarding for you?
I mean, we've provided 2 million meals to those in need now through 135 different food banks. That's something that's really powerful, especially, we volunteer at the local food banks, our team ourselves, and, seeing that impact up close and personal. And 2 million is just such a large number to imagine. That's something that, when I sit back, I feel proud of that impact. The problem of hunger is so massive with, 1 in 6 kids in America facing food insecurity, meaning they don't know where they're going to find their next meal. But if we could make a dent in that huge issue, then that's a real impact on real lives. And so that's something I'm proud of. And also that, GiftAMeal is a for-profit cause marketing program for restaurants. We're operating at break even now. We reached break even this month. And to showcase that GiftAMeal has created a sustainable business model as a for-profit company that aligns incentives of for-profits and nonprofits, where in a scalable way, we can help make a difference in communities across the country is something I'm proud of in terms of other social entrepreneurs looking to create companies that do well by doing good. And because I think that's just really the way of the future in terms of how businesses will operate when they recognize the power that social impact can have on their bottom line as well.
I love that. Do well by doing good. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. This has been awesome to learn about GiftAMeal. Is there anything else you'd want to share as a final thought for the audience?
I really appreciate you having me on. And for everybody out there, I just say get out there and get involved in your communities and try to find a way to do good. And if anything I was saying here from a GiftAMeal perspective was of note to you, again, you can go to giftameal.com/partner and you can learn more information. And I'd love to set up a call and chat with you. But yeah, for everybody out there, I just say get out there and do it and make it a priority in order to get involved in your community, because it's something that you'll feel really good about, your customers will feel good about, your staff will feel good about, and it can definitely help your business too.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, Andrew, and thanks for our audience for joining us.
Thanks.
And don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode of Food Tech Talk. Thank you for joining us for another bite-sized nugget of Food Tech Talk, supply chain insights from farm to fork. To learn more about Trustwell and its technology platform that connects product formulation, nutrition analysis, and compliant labeling with traceability, recall readiness, and supply chain transparency, please visit www.trustwell.com. Thanks for listening.